Good morning, everybody. Well, it's just about morning. It's Sonia from the Balloon Biz Academy, and I'm just popping in today. I want to have a little chat about something that I've been seeing as a bit of a common thread. I'm on a lot of the Facebook groups for balloons, and it's something that I think we just need to have a discussion around. I just want to check that I'm in the right place. Yep. So, what are we going to talk about today? Come on in if you're around. Say hello so I know you're on the live with me. I want to talk to you about customers who've got champagne tastes on a prosecco budget. And I've seen a lot of posts recently where people have been sharing pictures and they put up their price, what they believe it is, and then they've come back and said, well, customers only got like £100 to £150 budget. Hiya, Helen, welcome. And this is a prime example for my group. This is not my picture. Whoever's picture is beautiful. I've literally just screenshotted this as an example of the kind of thing I'm talking about at the moment. And the customer wants this for £100 to £150. I mean, that's ridiculously low pricing. And I've also seen an awful lot of conversations in the Facebook groups about pricing. And one of the really alarming things that I've seen popping up, and a lot of the people who've been running businesses for a long, long time have been calling this out, is the fact that people have been going on to job costing forms like Balloon Market's excellent spreadsheet, or they've been using my system or whatever, and coming back into the groups and saying, wow, this is expensive, what do you reckon? And then the conversation goes on, and before they know it, the people in that conversation have decided that actually they're going to totally ignore the price from the job costing sheet and have sort of whittled it down to about half the price. Now, there's a very good reason why industry prices are set at industry prices. Now, I need to be careful because obviously we don't want to see to be price fixing. That's not what this is about. This is about valuing your time and skill, and it's about creating profitable and sustainable businesses. And I've seen lots of people that have been around for a long, long time who totally understand that in order to run a sustainable business, you need to be charging your value and your time and your skill. And I've seen them people who have more recently joined the industry shouting over the top, giving advice, and people taking advice of people that perhaps haven't even run their businesses for a year or more. And one of the reasons I set up the Balloon Biz Academy is it is so common to see balloon businesses fail at around the 12 to 18 month point. And that is usually because that person has been running around, busy, creating amazing designs. And then when they do the books at the end of the year, they've made no profit. And it's just not a sustainable business. So I want to look at this a little bit more, because if I don't, then I'm not doing you the justice, because I can't watch all these businesses running around, driving themselves into the ground for little to show for it. And the thing is, we will get lots of clients come to us with an expectation of what they want and a budget nowhere near that expectation. It is really common. And then when you tell them the price, one of two things usually happens. You either get this awkward silence where they go, that much, and say nothing because it's not in their budget. What more is there to say? Or you will get customers that come back and are just totally like, oh my God, how can you charge that for balloons? And the problem there is, because we take that on board, instead of just going, you're not my customer, it's not in your budget, we start to do this whole mental, oh my God, if people won't pay my prices, what am I going to do? And before you know it, you get into this, what if I get no work? what am I going to do? Because I want to create these amazing organic structures. I want to create these amazing arches and garlands. And there's so much I want to do, because most of us start a business because we're on a creative journey and we want to add these things to our portfolio. And if our customers can't afford it, that means we can't do the work. And this goes on in our minds, and we need to acknowledge the fact it does. Then we start to think, should we reduce our prices? And if you do reduce your prices, then I promise you, in 12 to 18 months' time, you'll be thinking, is it all worth it? I mean, for those of you that have been out there running a little while, and perhaps you started off a bit cheaper at the beginning, have you raised your prices because you've come to understand that actually it's just not sustainable charging really cheap? But the thing you need to remember is you are responsible for your prices, but not people's budgets. When you're talking predominantly about premium products, which your organics and those type balloons are, you will find some people have the budget and some people don't. So in my business, I'm not a big organics person, but I do my Cinderella carriage. That's a prime example. I must get 10 inquiries a week for a Cinderella carriage. I probably do 10 a year, because ultimately, whilst most people would like it, most people are not prepared to pay the price that I want for it. And that's fine, because in any business, you have different levels of budget for different types of people who can afford it. And if I could sell a Cinderella carriage a week, I'd be very, very happy. But I understand that a lot of people will not be prepared to pay the price I want for my Cinderella carriage. And that's totally fine. And that's what we've got to accept within our businesses. If you get people coming back and saying, well, that's too expensive, instead of having the mind monkeys, you just say, not a problem. What is your budget and what can we do? But don't get into reducing your prices and reducing your value. And I know a lot of it is driven by Amazon. So a lot of your customers can go onto Amazon and they can buy amazing balloon kits, or not when they receive them, but that's another story, for about £15. So you can get the balloons to make an amazing organic arch for £15. Doesn't include any framework, any skill, and the time it takes. But it's not just our industry. You know, this is common, because they're buying basically a DIY kit. And I know then people come back to you and say, well, how can you justify your prices? But we've seen it across lots of industries within the sort of event and wedding planning industry. And, you know, a year or two ago, it was wedding dresses from eBay. People were going online and they were buying wedding dresses for a fraction of the price that they could buy in the UK. And what did they get? Nothing like they thought it was going to be. I mean, some of the wedding dress photos I saw at the time were horrendous. And I mean, if you look at these pictures here, like, but you get what you can afford in your budget. And actually, sometimes by trying to go cheap, you end up spending more money because you still have to buy in the end. Cake decorating is another industry where people often complain that the prices are expensive. And there's a lot of DIYing that goes on. There's also an awful lot of beginners out there trying to create some of the cakes. And when people buy cheap, sometimes they don't get exactly what they anticipated. So it's not just our industry, it is a commonplace. But the thing is, when customers are ordering for an artist, they have got to pay for their skill and their time. They've got to pay for the money that people have invested to go on courses. They've got to pay for the time that you don't spend making orders, because in a week, we might only spend 3 or 4 days flat out making orders, which we are getting physically paid for in our charging. And then the rest of the week, we're still doing stuff where we're working on our business. I mean, if you look at cake makers, decent cake makers charge several hundreds of pounds for their cakes. But actually, eggs, flour, milk, sugar, it's not expensive ingredients, but people have to pay for the time and the skill of that person. And I know A lot of my customers pay a lot of money for their cakes, which actually is, if you look at a big room, a cake is like a small portion of that room, isn't it? If you look at the overall experience you're creating. And I've had customers say to me, I've spent a bit too much money on the cake, so I need to cut down on my balloons. And I say, fair enough, your budget is your budget, but I'm not cutting down what I can give you because you spent too much on your cake and you now don't have the budget. Because my skill and my time is just as valuable as that of your cake maker. Same with wedding dresses. You can't expect to give a wedding dress maker your material and a needle and cotton, and they're going to charge you a few quid for the time and the skill it's going to take to create what you want. And it's not just in our industry. If you think about people like your accountants, most accountants could do your books with a pen, a piece of paper, a calculator, some computing software. Their overheads are quite low, but you're paying for their time and their skill. Car mechanics, often the parts to fix the car are a small percentage of the price compared to the labour. And what's frustrating me right now is, as an industry, we need to value our skill and time. And this is not a knock on new people coming into the industry. We have had a lot of new people coming in because obviously the situation we've been in, the economic circumstancing, furloughing, and I think that's brilliant. The more people that come into the industry, the better. But what we need to do, I feel, is educate the people coming into the industry about why you need to price correctly. Because if you don't, it's going to happen like chair covers years ago. Now, a couple of years back, chair covers went from being £3, £2.50 to £1 a chair. And to be honest, it doesn't take half as much skill to put chair covers on, because I do them, as it does to make balloons. But it still takes time, and it's still a business. And people who are not charging for their time are not running their business as proper business owners. So I just want you to think about this. So an average working week is 37.5 hours in the UK anyway. I don't know about other countries, but generally. And if you work it out on, what is it, £8.72 an hour is the minimum wage for over 25. So your wage per week would be £327. So if you look at a balloon business owner, over a busy weekend, we all work probably Friday to Sunday, around 30 hours. Might do a bit of prep on Thursday for Friday's work as well. But then we also work in our businesses from Monday to Thursday, doing wholesaler orders, messages, and all the other stuff we do. So it's not unusual for your average business owner to be working 50 plus hours a week. Pretty normal. If you then work out that the average profit margin, by using the way I calculate my prices, or the way Balloon Market calculates their prices, or the Qualitex job costing sheet, that gives you a profit margin of 25%, which is not a huge profit margin. So to earn £327 in profit, you've actually got to earn £1,308 per week. Because by the time you've done your supplies and everything else, 25% profit comes to 327. And that doesn't include some of the overheads. So if you're not using the job costing forms, then your pricing isn't even incorporating 25% profit. And the outcome of all of this is that many people in the balloon industry are working 50 plus hours a week for less than the minimum wage for 37.5, which is just like ridiculous. It's not sustainable, and it's going to drive the industry into a position where people are going to leave, because it's just not a sustainable industry. Because whether we like it or not, it takes time to make balloons. It's not something we can mass produce easily. And if you're going to take on staff to scale your business, you need to be able to pay them too. And they're not going to work for less than the minimum wage. So any staff you take on in your business, you've got to pay them the minimum wage. And yet you're not going to be paying yourself the minimum wage. So I know I'm having a bit of a rant today, and I know I'm always moaning about pricing and making sure you price your time, and I always say time is money, but it's for a reason, and it's the reason that I started the Bloom Biz Academy in the first place. Because people who don't price properly in their businesses are never around in 12 to 18 months' time. They've worked out that this is not a sustainable business, and they've gone and got a proper job. So I'd be doing you a huge disservice if I didn't give you the lowdown on what's happening in the industry at the moment. So if nothing else, I really want you to sit and think about valuing your skill and time. And if you are serious about running a business, as opposed to a hobby where it just pays, it's a hobby on the side, it's never going to be a full-time business, that's a different thing entirely. But again, that drags down the industry. And the thing that you need to remember in your business, and this is the difference between being a hobbyist and a business owner, is that whilst we want to make these hugely creative designs, premium designs should be at a premium price, and they are for specific customers. They will not be your week in, week out work unless you're in the Instagram circles with the influencers that have got the money to be paying for this. The majority of us will be lucky to do those types of very elaborate, hugely expensive design several times a year. And the other thing that you need to remember as well, when you're looking at your designs, is you need to be looking at how long your designs are going to take you and how much of profit you're going to make out of them. Most of the most successful businesses in the industry spend an awful lot of their time making classic decor or a twist on classic decor, because you can knock it out in next to no time, you can do it on scale, and you make a decent profit. So look at, when you're in the Bloom groups, look around at who I would say are the industry leaders in terms of having high value businesses, sort of David Mahoney, Party People. These are businesses that are turning over $1 million a year, and look at what they're producing. And I can guarantee two things. One is that they do elaborate stuff, but not all the time. The majority of the work they're putting out is what I would call classic decor, classic gifts, deliveries, and classic bouquets. The other thing I will guarantee is they are not charging street corner prices. They are charging their value and their worth, because you cannot grow the businesses to their scale unless you do. And you might not want to grow a business to their scale, but I'm guessing you want to earn a bit more than the minimum wage, or at least the minimum wage in your business. The secret to charging your worth is to be different. It's to be the flamingo in the flock of pigeons. And I say this a lot. If you was on my call yesterday with the Ultimate Guide group, we talked about this in there. It's about being the person that comes up with new creative ideas that are profitable for their business, and they lead the way. And the pigeons will follow. They will copy and they will undercharge. But one by one, the pigeons will disappear, and you'll be the flamingo left at the end of the day. So, I don't know. It's a little bit of a rant from me, I guess. I've been very frustrated in the Facebook groups just recently, because I really want this industry to, this industry has never been a more exciting place to be. When you look at the skill around the world and what people are doing with balloons, it's amazing. And even better still, balloons are so in fashion. People never wanted balloons more than they do right now. So it's the prime time to be able to be charging our value and our worth. Years ago, balloons went out of fashion. You didn't see balloons at a wedding because people's perceptions was it was 3 balloons on a bit of string. Now we create amazing with balloons. And yet we're charging less now and making less profit now than people were when they were doing 3 balloons on a bit of string. It's just like, it doesn't make any sense at all. So I've been ranting, so I'm just going to have a quick look at the comments and see what people are saying. So William, you said a race to the lowest price will just cripple the industry. I'm in the heating game, and that's what happened there also. And we've got to stop it. I mean, I have to be careful because we can't be seen to be price fixing. So I will not. And that's why when people ask, what price should I charge for this? If you see me in any of the groups, you will see me say, go learn to price. So you can learn it on my site. You can go to Balloon Market. I can't tell you what you should price. You need to work it out based on what your costs are. But also, we don't want to be fixing prices in the industry. But equally, what I do want to see is that the industry respects its skill and value, because not everyone can make balloons like we do. And, you know, you are artists in your own right. And unfortunately, when it comes to creative people, we're not always the best business people, which is why I started the Academy. Dimpy, you're saying this has been on my mind quite a lot lately. Thank you for speaking on this topic. Yeah, I'm sure. I know it's not just me. And one of the things I have been seeing a lot of is newer people to the industry giving advice to new people to the industry. And that is dangerous, really. And that's not discrediting new people, because I will welcome new people all the time. The more blood we get into the industry, the better. The more it grows, the better. But equally, the people that have been around 5 years plus are the people that you should be listening to, because they've been through the struggles. They've learned the hard way, the majority of them, and they know what it takes to build a sustainable business. A lot of people are going into Facebook groups and asking how to price and taking advice from people that don't really know how to price. TJ, you've left certain groups because it's frustrating. Yeah, I mean, I must admit, there are some groups where I've seen some of the admin and moderators joining the conversation, so I don't just think that. Rosie, look, how do you cope with people who want helium balloons? We charge £12 per 40-inch number and have been second guessing ourselves because of card factory home bargains as down to cousin so much. Yeah, it's a tricky one with numbers, because I think, what's it, about £5 with helium at B&M's at the moment? My answer is I don't sell just numbers on their own, very rarely, because I can't compete with those prices. I don't make any profit from doing it. And in fact, I might even be lucky to break even at £5 for a number. What I do is I make numbers with a lot more to them. So I will make you a beautiful footballer design. So I'll have a number 9 with a footballer, perhaps some football vinyl stickers in the shape of footballs and football boots, put the person's name on it, and create you a beautiful design for more around the sort of 25, no, probably 30, £35 mark, where I make a decent profit and you get something you can't buy from the high street. So that's how I deal with that. I don't compete. The thing is, there's no point competing on pricing, because if you lower your prices, you'll be forever lowering your prices, particularly with what I call the inflate and go type businesses, because they'll continuously reduce their prices and they'll go out of business and you'll be left with low prices. And the other thing about pricing low is you set an expectations with your customers then. So if you was pricing on the same level as them, how in the future could you then charge your worth? Because you've got to bring your customers back up to the right price. It's far better to start at the right price and try and drag your customers back up to the right price. So Luella, you're saying I'm struggling because when I tell them the price, they go elsewhere. To the next person, I will do it a bit cheaper. Yeah, I get that. I think at the moment it's particularly bad, and I think it is the economic climate. A lot of people have been furloughed. A lot of people haven't been able to conduct their normal business. So I've seen a lot of beauticians, nail technicians, personal fitness instructors looking for another business that they can run, because they have been one of the last people to get out of lockdown. What I think will happen is I think some of the people that have joined the industry will stay, hopefully, because they've got the bug and balloons are addictive. I think a lot of people will go back to what they were doing, because my guess is they were probably making more profit doing what they were doing before than what they will be with balloons at the prices they're charging. So I think we do need to weather it out a bit. But the key thing is to differentiate. It's about developing your skills, and it's also about your marketing. So it's about going out, being very clear on the type of customers you want, because not everyone wants cheap. Although it might seem like you're constantly getting knocks on the door, very few of my customers quibble on pricing because they come to me because I'm very different. A few of my customers have come back to me having bought Card Factory or whatever. I've been busy, I've been fully booked, or they've just chosen to go and get something from the high street, and they've come back to me for the next birthday because actually the quality of their balloons didn't last anywhere near the length mine did, and it just wasn't the same. So people will go sometimes and try cheap, not be very happy with what they get, and then come back again. I think it's probably, I'll be truthful, I think it's probably a little bit harder when you're starting out compared to established businesses where we've got reputation and loyalty. But equally, you know, like, you have to make a decision in business. You're either going to build a sustainable business or you just give up, because there's no half and half with business. In order to run a business, you need to pay enough money to grow your business so you can reinvest in it. And you've got to be at least earning minimum wage. And if you can't do that, then it's just not a business. So part of it's also about marketing. And I do talk a lot about power customers as my little thing for ideal customers. And you've got to go out with your marketing and find those people. And it can take a little time, I'll be honest. But once you do, pricing never becomes such an issue again. So yeah, that's a whole new thing. Right. Nikki, the dreaded it's cheaper at Card Factory. Yep, it is cheaper at Card Factory. Off you go. You won't get no bags when you get there. Half the time they've got no helium. Don't expect them to float as long. But yeah, it's cheaper at Card Factory. And I used to get into that with customers, but I don't anymore, because it wastes my time, it wastes my energy, it brings me down. And ultimately, if they're looking for Card Factory prices, the thing you've got to understand about being a balloon artist is you are not a Card Factory. This is Card Factory, this is cheap. You are a balloon artist. It's a bit like having a market stall. I don't know if this is a very good comparison. But it's a bit like going to the market to buy shoes, or going to Blue Water to buy some designer shoes. Or it's a bit like going to the market to get your trainers and getting a pair of, what were them ones we used to wear years ago? Everyone used to take the mickey out of me. The really crap, not designer trainers. Primark. They're saying Primarks, yeah? It's like telling my boys they've got to wear Primark trainers, which are cheap as chips, or they can have their Nike and their Adidas. And you need to decide whether you want to be Primark or you want to be Nike and Adidas. But you can't provide Nike and Adidas at Primark prices. That's not how retail and businesses work. Does that make sense? Lorretta, there's a shop near me that has been open for years and they charge well less than me. Do they do other things as well? Are they just balloons? Because to run a shop is huge overheads. And the other thing is, you don't know. The thing with social media, and even a balloon shop, is what you see on the outside can look like a very successful business, but actually they might only be running their business still because they've got a lease for 10 years. How do you know they're running at a profit? How do you know they're not £20,000 in debt if you looked at their books? So never take things just on the surface. Kerry, I had a member of staff leave and start up on her own and undercuts all my prices. It's hard. And that is one of the things that always worries me about taking on staff. It's one of the things, I'm going to do a blog post actually about what stopped me scaling my business, all the things that went on in my head. It's sort of half written. I have lots of half written blogs. I'm creative. I sort of ping off different things. What can you do? One of the things that I do is I do not know what anybody prices in my area. I have no idea what the local pricing is. I take no interest in what the local pricing is, because if I did, that would niggle away at my confidence with my pricing. I stick in my own line, eyes forward, and I work out my prices based on what I'm prepared to get out of bed and work for. Anything below that, I would have to go and get a job, because I have a family to support. We don't live a rich lifestyle by any means, but you know, you don't want to be worrying about paying the bills, and you want to perhaps have your holiday once a year and the normal stuff that you should expect from working hard and running your own business. So yeah, I would say don't get caught up in that who's charging what. Spend that time and energy that you spend looking around at other people and what they're charging on looking around for the customers that will pay for you, and learning how to market your business as the Nike, Adidas rather than the Primark. Leave the Primarks to get on with it. The reason why Card Factory are so cheap is I found out they fill up with half helium and half air. Yeah, they do. They don't float very long. Awful service. Sometimes you just have to let people go that don't accept your price. Don't downgrade yourself, and don't compare yourself to retail stores. We add stuff to them to make them look a bit extra, and that's why we're blue nosed. Ellie, that is spot on. The thing with Card Factory and Morrison's and the like is they buy in thousands. So we go to the balloon market, to the balloon wholesalers once a week, and we spend what, a few £100, depending on how busy you are. You might go monthly. Morrison's goes to the wholesalers and says, right, we're going to spend £60,000 with you this year. What can you give us? Most of their helium is, if you're lucky, 50% helium, 50% air. Most of them have no idea how to inflate. And the balloons do not last long. And to be honest, if you just want customers that want balloons on a bit of string, that you're not going to build a sustainable business unless you can stand on a street corner and knock them out at hundreds a day. It comes back to this, really. Let me go back. An average working week is 37.5 hours. The average profit in the balloon industry is 25%. Now, if you're going to do cheap balloons, that's an awful lot of balloons you've got to blow up a week. And realistically, in those hours, one way of looking at it is, given the hours you've got, if you know the figure you need to earn a week, and then you know that's actually only 25% of your income, how many balloons do you have to blow up to make that amount of money? Because when you do, that starts to tell you the type of orders you need to be getting in your business. It's about working backwards from what you need to earn, what that relates to as the profit, so therefore what your sales revenue must be, how many orders and how many hours you can realistically spend blowing up balloons, and then from there you can work out, okay, so I can do 30 orders a week, and then you break down that number, so my average value of the order to hit that number needs to be. And once you do the maths like that, you suddenly realise that blowing up a few cheap balloons on a bit of string is, you don't have the capacity to do that. And even if you did, how frustrating and annoying would that be as a balloon artist to have to go down that route? Right, well, I've had my little rant. If you're watching on the replay, please pop on and give me your thoughts also. I hope I haven't offended anyone or come across harsh. I just want to be realistic with you, because when you're starting out in business, and even when you've been running business for a while, there are balloon artists that have been out there a good time and are still not making very much money. A lot of them have partners that bring in the full-time income, and it's a job on the side. I get that. But, it's all about self-worth and self-value at the end of the day, and respecting, what you put in. So it is a bit of a rant from me, but, I set up the Bloom Biz Academy, not to sit on the sidelines, but to help people grow. And I just felt it needed saying right now. So, yeah, food for thought. I'm not saying it's an easy fix to put your prices up and to charge your worth. But there are solutions. If it's a case of concentrating on your marketing to find the right people, then do that. Rather than work all the hours God sends to keep doing balloon orders for the people that don't value what you do. Because all the time you're doing that, you don't have time to do marketing to find the people that really will value and pay your prices. Right, I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to go off and feed some kids. If you're on the replay later, type #replay and let me know your thoughts. And I will catch you all later. Bye for now.